Hey YouTube, so today we're going to go over my Minsc Beloved Ranger deck. I don't see a lot of videos online about Minsc, so I figured I'd toss my deck list up, um, give everyone an idea about maybe how this is ran. Some people use this X ability here to buff maybe the Boo token that Minsc creates, and you swing in and everything. But this isn't really what that deck's going to do. We're going to be using that X right there, and we're going to pay 0 into that. We're going to make all of our creatures 0/0 power and toughness and kill them. So we're going to be using it as a sacrifice outlet. Unfortunately, it can only be used as a sorcery, which is going to be a downside, but not really that much of one. And the deck's quite enjoyable, so let's get into it. Let's start with the lands. I'd say that's the best place to start. So, starting with the basics, we have 3 mountains, we have 5 plains, and we have 7 forests. Alright, this is just our basic count. Most of our lands are going to be non-basics, but we have to have some of the basics in there since we do play Magus of the Moon. We have Battle Forge here for our Boros land. We don't have a lot of Boros lands, but it is what it is. I should probably have more. We have a few green-white lands. You can pause if you'd like to see any of them. They're not high-quality ones. We have some Gruul lands. We have quite a few of these. Reason being is I took apart my Grumgully deck to build this. We then have some of our all of our fixing here with Exotic Orchard. We also have Command Tower, obviously. And then we have 2 fetch lands. You can cut these. These are not necessary cards to have in the deck, but I open them in packs, so that's why we have them. We also have 1 utility land here with High Market. High Market is unique, and if you notice the tap here, the sacrifice a creature is part of the cost, not the effect. So that means that you can sacrifice any of the creatures that you need to sacrifice without any interaction from your opponents. So it's a pretty good land to have in the deck. Now let's go on to some of our ramp here. We have Findhorn Elf, Navicent's Pilgrim, Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, Arbor Elf. For our dorks, we do not have Boreal Druid. I don't think the deck needs it, though if I were to cut a card for Boreal Druid, it would probably be the next card here, which is a Springleaf Drum. We have enough non-mana creatures in the deck that it's worth running the Springleaf Drum since, you know, your stacks creatures don't really mind being tapped. We have Soul Ring, obviously, Wild Growth for our 1-drops, and then we have our 2-drop, we have Arcane Signet. We have Devoted Druid because we have the combo. We have the combo in there with the Zero of Remedies, though it's not the main part. It's not the main card to combo with, but it's nice to have in there. For our two mana ones here, also we've got Skyshroud Elf, which is really nice fixing down here. If you notice, the 1 there doesn't have you tap, so you can filter any of your green, red, or white mana into red or white mana. So this effectively taps for all 3 of your colors. It's more of a pet card. I wouldn't recommend running it, but I enjoy it a lot. We also have, for 3 mana, we have Feybrel Elf. Sorry, not Feybrel Elder. Most of the time it's going to be tapping for 3 mana. 3 mana taps for 3, not that bad of a card. It's pretty good. For our rituals, we have Simian Spirit Guide. We have Tinderwall, which is effectively a ritual. Since you pay a green, even though it's a creature, you then sack it for 2 red immediately. And then we also have Orcish Lumberjack, which I now have started to consider a ritual. Since you're going to be sacrificing one of your lands to add 3 mana, it's a very strong card, and it can definitely... it's led to a lot of wins for me. However, you don't want to use it too often, or you're going to start losing all your lands. There's enough forests, though, in the deck that it can go off as often as needed. Fantastic card. Highly recommend it. All right. Now, this is a stacks and a pod deck, so let's go into our stacks pieces here. We have 2 non-creature ones here with Rule of Law and Deafening Silence. These cards are just fantastic. Stopping your opponents from doing pretty much everything they're wanting to be doing. Casting their spells happens to be the main point of the game, so stopping that's helpful. This one in particular is really great because this allows us to keep casting our creatures, which is most of the deck. We also have Eidolon of Rhetoric and Archon of Emeria to do the same thing, okay? So this is a Rule of Law deck, so we've got those ones. We also have Thalia, because who doesn't like making all the non-creatures cost one more? We have Aven Mind Sensor, Collector Oof for all of those pesky Treasure Storm decks out there. You know who you are. Spirit Labyrinth, because this is a fantastic card for preventing draws. We have Draenith Magistrate, don't need any explanation. Magus of the Moon, doesn't really need any explanation. Archon of Valorous Reach. Now, this one's more of a protection card. This isn't really going to win you any games. A 5/6 trampling beat stick isn't going to really be enough. However, being able to shut down maybe one of your opponent's decks, or you can shut off, their interaction by naming instants. It's a really good card. And then we have one last hate piece, which I don't know personally if it's going to be that great in the deck. I haven't gotten to cast it very often, but when you do, if you're up against a graveyard deck, 9 times out of 10 they have black in them. So it's good at shutting those down. Also, just completely shuts down World Gorger. I don't know if a lot of people have to deal with World Gorger very often, but this will completely shut it down if you're scared of it. It can also stop those pesky, Izzet decks that like to spell sling out of their graveyard. Maybe they're trying to load up their graveyard from Mizzix's Mastery, or they're going to use Past in Flames to get a lot of value. This says no to that. So, those are the stacks pieces. On to more of our interaction here. For counter spells, we have our Red Elemental Blast, our Pyroblast. I did that backwards. And Tybalt's Trickery. If we have any of our Rule of Law effects, Tybalt's Trickery is effectively just counter spell, because this isn't going to, the whole text of the card isn't really going to matter. We have more protection-based cards, because really we're trying to go off fast if we can't get our stacks pieces out. So we have more protection-based stuff like Destiny Spinner, which can protect our Pattern of Rebirth. We have Veil of Summer to protect most of our creatures on the board, and also most of the time it'll cantrip. We have Angel's Grace, just because I think it's a really good card. I think it's underrated. Being able to just stop Thassa's Oracle Winds for 1 white mana seems to be a good card, in my opinion. We also have Silence, and we have Flame Scroll Celebrant. Now, this card, why is it in this pile? Well, the reason it is because if you take it out here, flip it over, it's just Silence for 2 white mana. Now, this can be used offensively. You can shut down someone's Storm turn, or it's better to use Protective at your upkeep to make people waste their counter spells because they think you're going to go off. You are trying to go off. But the best part is, since it's a creature, you can tutor it to your hand a lot easier if you need the Silence. So, we've got our interaction out of the way here. How are we going to get to all these pieces? Well, we have a little bit of draw. Just a little bit. We have a Faithless Looting. We have an Occam Adversary. Occam Adversary, known as Green Bob, because, having that Dark Confidant effect, essentially, because someone's going to be playing green. So you're getting this for 2 mana. And being able to swing in, draw a card every turn, happens to be a good effect. And then we have Life's Legacy. I don't know how good this card is. I've been keeping it in my decks with Grumgully. I know I thought about taking it out last time I made a video for Grumgully. Being able to sacrifice as a cost and not an effect is really good, because this is going to happen no matter what. If spell gets countered, you still got to sacrifice that creature. Being able to sacrifice Protean Hulk this way is a really strong effect, so I think it's definitely worth running. And then you can get the card draw off of, maybe, let's say, you want to kill a stacks piece that's really hurting you, so you can do that. Now we have our tutors. We're going to have to tutor up our win condition here. So we have an Imperial Recruiter. This thing's going to be getting Kiki Jiki most of the time. We have Eldritch Evolution. It can get anywhere from 2 drops to the highest 7 drop in the deck. Since we have the Boo token, so we can sacrifice the Boo token of this and get 2 drop if we need to. We have Birthing Pod, which we have Birthing Pod lines in here with Kiki Jiki. Summoner's Pact, Natural Order to go and get our green creatures. We have Eladmir's Call, which is good for putting a creature in your hand. This is something that Flame Scroll Celebrant can be used for. We also have Shared Summons, Same here, you can get Flame Scroll Celebrant with that. We also have Court of Calling, and probably the best one in the deck, Pattern of Rebirth. Pattern of Rebirth is fantastic, mainly because you can go ahead and use it with Boonweaver Giant, which is essentially going to be an extra copy of your Pattern of Rebirth. It also does some other combos, which we'll talk about later. Let's get those out of the way here. Next, we're going to be talking about more of our interaction, more of our removal, really. We have an Abrade. Abrade being able to destroy a key artifact or just bolt a creature. Both are expensive for what it gives you, but having both on the same card is good. Swords. Then we have a Nature's Claim and a Caustic Caterpillar. I know some people like playing the new white version of this from Innistrad, but I prefer this one since you can pay the 1 to get it out and then the 2 to activate versus the 2 to get it out and the 1 to activate, because you can go turn 1 Caustic Caterpillar, turn 2 you can activate it if you need to. We also have just our complete removal with Beast Within, Generous Gift. Obviously these aren't the best interaction for super competitive games, but this isn't trying to be the competitive cEDH deck. This is more of a high power version. There's no Mana Crypt in here. There's no Mana Vault, all of your super insane fast mana, or your super expensive tutors. All right, we have one more niche category before we get to the combo pieces. We just have Recursion. Eternal Witness, don't need to explain that, but I'm probably going to need to explain this right here. So, Dreadhorde Arcanist actually works really well with Minsc, because Dreadhorde, when it attacks, can go ahead and get back one of your instants and sorceries, and you can play it for free based on the Arcanist's power. Well, you can buff its power with Minsc if you need to, so you can essentially get a Kess-like effect, being able to cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard once during your turn, which can be helpful if you need to reuse one of your tutors. Which is the main goal for this, but it can also be used to recast some of your removal if you absolutely have to. All right, now onto the combo pieces. There are a bunch, so hang in with me here. Let's go with the simplest of them. First, we have the Kiki-Jiki, Village Bellringer. I'll just sit those 2 cards there, and you guys can see how it works. I'm not really going to explain most of these because they're very common and well known. So we also have Kiki-Jiki, Felidar Guardian to do the same thing, and we also have the Karmic Guide so that the Birthing Pod chain can go ahead and get this. The best part about the Birthing Pod chain is that you're going to be tutoring up your Felidar Guardian first, since it can untap your Birthing Pod. And since this is a 4-drop, your commander is a 3-drop, you can start and win the game with, I believe it's 3 mana and these 2 out. So if you can get 6 mana, if you have Minsc and then you can next turn 6 mana, you win the game with Birthing Pod. Other combos we have in here, don't rely on these. We have a really weird one with Karmic Guide. It's completely incidental, because it's Safi, Eric's Daughter, and Goblin Bombardment. I will explain this one because it's kind of weird. So Safi is in here essentially as protection, so that if any of your combo pieces get removed, you can sack this off, target your combo piece, and make sure it comes back to the battlefield. But this is a weird little win condition you got here. All these cards were incidentally in the deck, and they happen to infinite combo. So what you do is you sacrifice the Safi, targeting the Karmic Guide, so that when this dies, it'll come back to the battlefield. So this dies, so it's going to go over here. It's dead. Then you use your Goblin Bombardment and sacrifice your Karmic Guide. When your Karmic Guide dies, it's going to come back because of Safi. And when this ETBs, you go ahead and get your Safi out of your graveyard, and now you have the same board state. And then you can rinse and repeat this to ping your opponents to death. Now, why is the Goblin Bombardment in the deck? Well, that is in there because of a holdover from the Grumgully deck that I like with the Lesser Masticore. And our Persist Enabler is going to be Vizier of Remedies, which we talked about earlier. And that, in combination with Minsc, this is going to allow you to win the game. This is a 4-card combo. You're not going to, or actually, sorry, you don't need Minsc for this one. This is a 3-card combo, and this allows you to win the game. It's not the most effective way to win the game, but I liked it from the Grumgully deck, so I ported it over. At least this part. Obviously, this was not from Grumgully. This used to be Malira, which I switched out so that I can go infinite with Devoted Druid, which will just net you a lot of green mana, which isn't very helpful in this deck, at least. If we remove the Goblet Bombardment here, we have the Reckless Fireweaver, which can allow you to... This goes infinite with your 4th card, Minsc. Now, why would you want to do something so dumb as to play a 4-card combo? Well, it's because this isn't a 4-card combo. This is a 2-card combo with the card Protean Hulk. If you notice, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 CMC worth of cards here, which Protean Hulk can go get. Once you get the Hulk onto the field in a variety of ways, you can then zero it, so make this 0 power, 0 toughness. It dies. You go and get the combo, and you win the game. So, Protean Hulk can also go and get more complicated combos, like Kiki Felidar with Karmic Guide. But I won't be explaining those because they're a little more complicated, and there are much better videos out there explaining them. We also have some extenders for our Protean Hulk. What you can do is you can go and get this, plus, let's say, you can go and get your Safi, and that's 6 CMC worth of cards. And the only thing that you'll have now is that you have 2 CMC worth of extra stuff. And then you can kill this, go and get your combo, and now you have 1 layer of protection. The only other combo we have in here is Boonweaver Giant. Boonweaver Giant is a really great card because it is essentially a second copy of our Pattern of Rebirth. Because when this comes into the field, we can go and get Pattern of Rebirth from our deck, our grave, or our hand, and we can put it on just like that, and then we can kill it and go get another card. What this allows us to do, this is really important because this adds an extra card, an extra creature to all of our Protean Hulk searches. You think, that's stupid, that makes no sense. Well, it does, because we're going to kill this, we're going to go and get the Hulk. Kill the Hulk. We go and get any 2 CMC thing, and Gerard. Kill Gerard. Gerard will then get back this, and the Boonweaver Giant, which gets back the Pattern of Rebirth, and now you have an extra creature now. So now you can go and get, essentially, 1 creature and 6 CMC worth of stuff, which allows you to do more complicated combos with the Protean Hulk. You can also just hardcast this if you don't have any of this stuff going on. You can just hardcast this to go and get your Pattern of Rebirth, which can then jumpstart your Protean Hulk combos. That's how I won a game recently, off of just hardcasting a Boonweaver Giant, and it was allowed to resolve, and it won me the game. So it's, even though it's 7 mana, it's 100% worth playing in the deck, and yeah, it's definitely worth a try. So that is my Minsc video. Off the back of the Grumgully video, I'm trying to do it quicker this time. You can let me know in the comments if you think that I completely screwed this up and you'd like me to redo it, which I will, because I am on break and I'm enjoying doing deck techs right now. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.